Hi, and welcome again to JNUC 2021. This is session 1231, the Marketplace API panel for our developer track. I'm Chris, your panel host, and I'm a Solution Partner Engineer for our Solution Partner program here at Jamf. Joining us today are 5 panelists who have created successful marketplace solutions, each that leverage the Jamf APIs. Our panelists are Petrus from Okta, Renee from Acronis, Michael from True Software, Trent from Umnitsa, and Taylor from Tugboat Logic. Let's begin by letting each panelist introduce themselves and give a brief explanation of their marketplace solution. For our attendees, if you have any questions as we go, please enter the questions in the Q&A section of the JNUC 21 platform. All right, let's kick things off. Our first panelist is Petrus Patnick from Okta. Petrus, thanks for joining us. Please kick us off by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you arrived at the Jamf Marketplace.
Thank you, Chris, for having me here. Hi, everyone. I'm Pratyush. I'm Senior Director of Engineering at Okta. Prior to that, I was co-founder and CTO at AtSpoke. AtSpoke is a modern service desk, service management platform built for the modern workplace. A lot of things have changed in our lives in the last few years. The workplace is much more dispersed, and when I say dispersed, it is employees working from home remotely from all over the world and using multiple apps to get through with the day-to-day operations of the company. We had designed AtSpoke for this particular dispersed workplace. And our customers, the teams who use Spoke, were able to deliver exceptional service while making it easy for the employees to get convenient and self-service help across the tools that they already use. After we were acquired by Okta earlier in August of this year, and the focus still stays the same, and it would morph into a lot more around identity and access management. Prior to Okta and AtSpoke, I was at Google after selling my first company, which was in the mobile testing space. Bit on our solution in Jamf Marketplace as a help desk solution. When a ticket comes in, a lot of the workflows that the IT tech has to take is to go figure out who the employees is, what assets do they own, if they're complaining about their laptops and whatnot. This is where we had integrated with Jamf's API to automatically surface all the assets and hardware assets in this case that the employee would have. So it made it easier for the IT techs to take actions. We have a similar integration with Umnitsa. I know we have someone from Umnitsa also in this panel today. And number 2, what we allowed, the integration allowed us is to also take the IT techs to take immediate quick actions. If someone lost their iPad or their laptops and they need to lock the device, today they would jump into Jamf, find the individual, find their device, and then hit them. Because of the integration and the app, you could do it automatically from the ticket itself. And in some cases, the machine learning that we had built would do it automatically for you. I know I spoke a bunch of things here. I'm looking forward to the conversation where we will get the opportunity to deep dive into the solution that we built. Thank you, Chris.
Awesome, thank you, Petrus. This is exciting, and glad to hear that you're building connections while the world is, at home, perhaps in large part, and still pretty far apart. We're so glad that you're here. Our next panelist is Renee Beekman from Acronis. Thanks for joining us, Renee. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and Acronis' solution?
Yes, thank you for inviting us, Chris. So my name is Renee. I'm a Senior Product Manager at Acronis, and I lead the product management team that builds integrations for remote management and service automation solutions, including the Acronis Cyber Protect Cloud integration with Jamf Pro that we released this summer. Long before I became a product manager, I worked in digital arts and in education. So it's not really a surprise that I've been a lifelong Mac user. I still use Macs every day today. So I'm acutely aware of the value that is stored on most Macs in terms of hours, weeks, even months of work. much of which cannot really be recovered when it's lost. I've lost data myself in almost any possible way that you can think of. So I count myself lucky that right now I'm in a unique position at Acronis where I can help MSPs to protect and support Mac users like myself. And that's why I'm glad to be joining today.
Awesome. Well, I'm not glad that you have lost data, but I do love that your Mac OS user experience in previous roles has impressed upon your career. And I do think that's an important perspective to keep. So we're very lucky to have you here. Thank you so much for taking part. Next up, we have Michael Lin from Truce Software.
Hey, Hi, Chris. Thanks for inviting. Hey, Chris. Thanks for inviting us here. So I'm Michael Lin. I work at Truce Software as the manager of software engineering for our platform team. The platform team handles anything from our databases, servers, to external integrations like the one that we have with Jamf. So Truce in general is all about thinking situationally about how technology should be used in and around the workplace. We do this by extending the Jamf Pro platform using the Jamf APIs to dynamically change the mobile devices policy. So we can basically base the policy on the context of the current device. This happens automatically without any end user interaction. This allows us to ensure that the user has access to the right applications and device features at the right time, all based on their current context. I'm excited to talk more about our integration.
That's awesome, Michael. Safety is paramount, especially in 2021. It's dangerous out there. It's great to meet you, and pleasure to have you on the panel. Next up, we have Trent Seed from Umnitsa. Welcome, and thanks for joining us, Trent. What can you tell us about yourself and Umnitsa?
Thanks, Chris. Glad to be here. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm Trent Seed, co-founder and chief architect at Umnitsa. My background in software development goes back to the second grade with Microsoft Visual Basic, where I was teaching myself how to build computer games. And over the years, I've had experience building a wide range of desktop, web, and mobile applications. And for the past decade, I've been pursuing Umnitsa and the challenge of managing enterprise technology at scale. Umnitsa is the first enterprise technology management solution that enables organizations to manage the lifecycle of all technology assets from onboarding to end of life from a single source of truth. Now, what exactly is ETM, or enterprise technology management? Companies have long used systems of record for key elements of their business. A Workday for HR, a NetSuite for financials, Salesforce for CRM. In today's complex and expansive environment, organizations also need a system of record for their technology, which is the ETM solution. By technology, we refer to your endpoints, including your desktops, laptops, and mobile devices. That includes your cloud infrastructure, so any containers, virtual machines you have running in the cloud or across VMware. And that includes your accessories, your networking equipment, as well as any desktop installed software and any SaaS-based applications as well. Today, all of this data exists in silos. You likely use Jamf as your best-of-breed solution for managing all of your Apple devices. You may have another tool for your Windows or Linux devices, an MDM for Android or Chrome, not to mention a security endpoint tool like Carbon Black or CrowdStrike. Reporting and holistic process orchestration is incredibly difficult, if not impossible, with data existing across several disparate systems. And that's why Umnitsa's agentless solution consolidates the asset data in your existing investments and provides you a single pane of glass into your entire technology portfolio.
Awesome. Thank you, Trent. It sounds like your early interest in development is definitely paying off. It's awesome to see what you're building there at Umnitsa. We're very glad to have you. Our final panelist is Taylor Johnson from Tugboat Logic. Hi, Taylor. Welcome to the panel. Thank you for being here. Can you round us off by telling us just a little bit about yourself? Oh, no worries. Can you round us off by telling us a little bit about yourself and your marketplace solution at Tugboat Logic?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks again for having me, and it's great to meet everybody, and thanks for attending. My name's Taylor Johnson. I'm the Director of Product Management at Tugboat Logic, heading up all of our efforts in the security posture management and continuous compliance space. Tugboat is a security assurance platform that helps our customers prepare for and go through security audits such as SOC 2 and ISO 27001, as well as show proof of their compliance to customers, vendors, auditors, or any interested parties that need to see proof of compliance and what your security credentials are. A huge component of preparing for security audits is pulling together all of the evidence from across your organization that each of the controls in whatever framework you're going for is in place and operating effectively. And this is where our integration with the Jamf Pro API comes in. Using the integration, we allow our customers to automate the collection of evidence surrounding workstation compliance from any of the workstations that are managed in Jamf. And this saves our customers a huge amount of time by not having to go out and collect that evidence from each employee's workstation individually.
Awesome. Thank you, Taylor. Focusing on security and saving time, I think that's in the best interest for everybody out there. Now that we know a little bit about each of our panelists, I'd like to go ahead and dive right in and ask you all about your solutions and the ways in which they intersect with Jamf. Our first question is going to be for Petrus. Petrus, your solution has some really neat machine learning aspects to it. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How can AI and API intersect? And how can it provide value to an organization when they do?
Of course, Chris. See, in the last few years, among a lot of things, API and AI, those two worlds have progressed a lot. Today, any B2B SaaS app having good REST APIs is almost table stakes. There are a lot of tools you have today that make it easy for you to manage and publish your APIs. The tools help you define the documentation, the metadata around it in a very structured way. REST as a format is obviously pretty standard. Now with Swagger and other frameworks, you're able to define what particular APIs are going to do. So a human being doesn't have to read through them. They can just automatically ingest the metadata, the documentation to understand what each APIs are doing. So that makes it easy to build on top of APIs at scale. That's number one. Number two, with respect to AI, the world is progressing very fast and in a massive way into this world. For us particularly, we were focused more towards language focused models, things like BERT, GPT-3, a lot of transformer based technologies that have come out in the last few years, and they make it very easy, very straightforward to build very powerful machine learning NLP based models. And on top of that, all the big cloud vendors today have tools in place that make it easy for you to train at scale and deploy the models at scale. So those are the two big aspects of things. And when you intersect them, it just leads to very beautiful, very elegant solutions that can help customers in solving some of the repetitive and cumbersome business processes. APIs by themselves, like I said, have a lot of metadata. They also come with a lot of guardrails, right? You need to send in a particular set of input. You get certain output back. You need to get a 200 OK. And if you're doing something wrong, you'll get a feedback back immediately. So unlike, let's go back to enterprise search as a problem where you would go search for something. You need to plug into different knowledge silos, get answers which are not structured, and you need to make a lot more, build a lot of mix to understand if the answers are correct, get a lot more feedback. In case of APIs, the search space is very well defined, along with very good metadata for you to predict which APIs to do. And when you hit those APIs, you should have the right input parameters. So essentially, you have the guardrails to do it. So that's a bit on the technology, how it helps. And I'll give you some examples with respect to Jamf. Today, an AdSpoke customer, an employee in that customer, if they forget their iPad in the subway or in an aircraft, they can come into Slack and just say this. And again, this is one of those examples where APIs are so robust, they can just come to Slack and say, hey, I left my iPad. It will automatically create a ticket. The system, the AI, the system, and this is a short format sentence. AI is technologies are pretty good to take that and figure out the intent and find the right workflow out of it. And that would execute a workflow that would go to Jamf and lock the device, go for an approval to IT. Once, as soon as you approve, it goes and wipes the device. Wiping a device is a pretty extreme step. So we want a human involvement there. And we are learning, nonstop learning from what a human being is doing to repeat if such a thing happens again in a more efficient and a faster way. Does that help? Understand what we do?
Absolutely. Great answer. It seems like combining AI and API can have some tremendous outputs, particularly for our automation tasks. And it's relieving to hear that we're still relying on a human, right, for the wiping.
No, absolutely. It essentially helps automate and weave together different apps to solve a business process. And there would be times and controls where you need to delegate to a human being to approve before machine goes and takes an action. 100%.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. I'm super excited about the future of machine learning, particularly with its application in the Jamf world and its impact on Jamf users. Very excited to watch that space. Thank you, Petrus.
Thank you.
Next up.
Thank you, Chris.
Next up, we have Renee. Renee, the Acronis Cyber Protect cloud integration with Jamf Pro uses the API for various different purposes, like creating a deployment model for the Acronis agent in Jamf Pro, while also providing some telemetry for useful backup information. Can you tell us what the benefit is in exploring an API with such a wide range of use cases, and how you're able to use it to go above and beyond for your customers?
Yes, of course, Chris. So the Acronis Cyber Protect Cloud combines both backup and cyber protection for MSPs in a single product with a single agent. We have over 10,000 partners at Acronis who love the simplicity of having a single product that manages complete cyber protection across customers, across all of their platforms. Now, because we built the integration before we built the integration between Acronis and Jamf Pro, MSPs had to switch between the two UIs, the two platforms, and that's not really efficient or scalable. So now with the integrations, MSPs can deploy, manage, monitor Acronis across hundreds, even thousands of Mac computers using the Jamf deployment functions that they already know and use every single day. So as you mentioned, we monitor protection statuses right within Jamf. We use the API to store these statuses into extension attributes. Now, the beauty of extension attributes is that you can use Jamf's native search and group functionality to create actionable lists of items of devices that you need to look at, that need your attention as an MSP. So one example we provide out of the box is a simple search for macOS computers where the Acronis last backup date is more than 3 days ago. It's a very simple way to give you an overview of computers that have not been recently backed up. You can do the same thing with protection statuses that we provide and so on. So I'm looking forward to hearing all the other scenarios that MSPs are going to implement with the data that we provide through the extension attributes in Jamf.
Perfect. Thank you, Renee. I will say, too, if any attendees are MSPs that have ideas about how we can increase productivity, maybe pass that into the chat section. We'd love to hear about it. It sounds like Acronis is using the APIs in innovative ways that are making scaling a breeze for MSP customers. Having the ability to review and verify statuses across environments is going to save a lot of time, I think. Okay, so now that we know APIs can be used to keep our time safe, let's shift gears a little bit and see how they can be used to also keep humans safe in general. Michael, True Software's partnership with Jamf has huge implications for worker safety solutions on mobile devices, and Jamf Pro's API plays a large role in the Jamf worker safety solution. How can APIs affect human behavior, and why is this important?
Hey, Chris, thanks. So Truce's partnership with Jamf really allows the deskless workforce to become safer and a more productive environment. The Jamf APIs allow Truce to perform automated actions without any user input. And we do this by taking in any kind of context from a mobile device or an external duty system that can denote what permissions may be enabled or disabled for the current state in the device's context. These permissions can range from modifying the restrictions profile to disable the camera state whenever a user enters a research lab, or even at the home screen layout for a vehicle driver whenever their necessary applications are on the first screen, and we can hide all of the unnecessary apps all while the vehicle's in motion. In general, Truce uses the Jamf APIs to provide contextually aware actions to the mobile device and their environment based on real time.
Brilliant. Thanks, Michael. I love it when technical solutions, in this case, the Jamf APIs, are implemented with the goal to make the world a better and safer place. It sounds like True Software's solution and our partnership with Jamf aim to do just that. So, well done.
Thanks.
Our next question is for Trent. Trent, it's important for information to have the capacity to be fluid. As new and differing systems are added to an IT environment, the flow of information originates from many new sources and can take many different shapes. Can you describe the challenges that arise when integrating with multiple different systems to build a unified source of truth?
Absolutely, and thanks for the question, Chris. As you mentioned, it's essential for information to have the capacity to be fluid. As organizations evolve, new tools will be onboarded and changed. Enterprise technology management with UNITSA enables you to capture this information as it evolves into a single solution for holistic visibility and process orchestration. Integrations really need to be easy to configure, and you need to be able to establish new data sources with minimal effort through configuration rather than customization. Not only do you need to connect and correlate these different systems, you also need the flexibility to build a data layer on top of that so that you can drive processes and tie it all together. Now, one key challenge of connecting multiple systems is the whole notion of building a unified record or a digital twin. Unique identifiers must be relied upon to reconcile information across multiple systems that might represent different aspects of the same device. Already through our close integration with Jamf, we're able to get rich information on a device such as its hardware attributes, its software, the disk encryption status, and much, much more. If you're running a security endpoint tool as well, such as Carbon Black, you need a way to map that additional data into a unified and normalized record where the entirety of that device is represented. In many cases, a serial number or hardware identifier can be used. However, certain devices and systems do not provide that information, and we need to be more creative and fall back on network interface details and other attributes of the device to determine that appropriate association. With the wide range of possible systems to integrate, you ultimately must work with the data available through those REST-based interfaces and define the appropriate field-level mappings. Now, another key challenge is not only reconciling data for the same device between mutually exclusive systems. In some cases, you may get overlapping or even competing information between systems. As an example, you may be capturing software details for an asset coming in through Jamf, as well as an additional source. The data structure and formats will likely vary, and using an ETM such as UNITSA will allow you to define the rules to control that flow of information. With our integration with Jamf, we're able to load all of the device and software information for your desktop, laptop, and mobile Apple devices, and through the power of automation, take action using our bidirectional workflow capabilities. So based on a configured set of criteria or some event happening in any one of your technology portfolios, you can automatically modify a device back in Jamf. So as an example, if we deploy or assign a compute device to an end user, that assignment can automatically take place in Jamf. You no longer have to do it in two places. And on the administrative front, we can even lock or wipe a device due to noncompliance with your full disk encryption policy, as an example.
That's super interesting. It sounds like you found a great way to normalize your data and create these digital twins. And I think the bidirectional capabilities of UNITSA provides using Jamf's APIs are especially useful, as it allows users to ingest and act upon data from multiple sources all within the same pane of glass, like you said, instead of hopping from silo to silo. Thank you so much, Trent.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question is for Taylor. The amount of available software titles for macOS devices is continually increasing. Many applications install agents in order to gather information and perform tasks on the system. Tugboat Logic's solution is different. How does leveraging APIs like Jamf's allow you to provide an agentless solution for your users?
Yeah, it's a great question. Our customers love the fact that we can gather evidence using Jamf's APIs as opposed to deploying agents to each machine. Using Jamf Pro's API set and the advanced search functionality in particular allows us to run queries against the customer's fleet of workstations and then report back any relevant compliance data without ever having to touch any of the machines themselves. So it makes for a really clean solution that leverages the customer's existing tech stack without having to introduce any new tools. And in my intro, I talked about how our Jamf integration assists with evidence collection, and it's Jamf's API that allows us to do that. But when you look at the compliance use case as a whole, having a tool like Jamf's in place plays a big role beyond just reporting and evidence collection. Proving that your workstations are compliant is just one part of the equation. So the other part that auditors might be looking for is that you have a means of remediating and responding to compliance issues that arise, and doing so really requires more than what an agent alone can often provide.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that Jamf's APIs are enabling an agentless solution to provide security compliance that doesn't come at the expense of the client device's resources. Great to hear. Shifting gears a bit here, we're going to go back to Petrus. Automating processes that relied previously on human interaction does a tremendous job of reducing workflow inefficiencies. Can you tell us how these kinds of automations reach across industries and have the potential to revolutionize them?
Sure. I'll give it a shot. I'll start by saying something very obvious. Machines are good at large-scale compute, number one, and number two, repeating the same task with high precision again and again and again. Even with these capabilities, Chris, I don't think we can ever eliminate human interactions. We can just eliminate the tasks that are much more structured and are very repetitive. We are already seeing this. There's a massive RPA industry that has come up in the last few years, where there are tremendous amount of efficiencies have been extracted by deploying software that are just looking at human being do something and repeating them. And this is going in insurance industry, in loan processing, auto industry, everywhere. Even with RPA, there are they repeat, they automate a lot of the processes, but there is no underlying structure. This is a lot of these things are visually learned and repeated. With APIs coming into the picture as more and more apps, and mostly the legacy large apps adopting APIs, you can run the same processes with much high precision because you're hitting a particular API, you're expecting certain output. So that leads to a lot of operational efficiency that we're already seeing. It only takes it a notch up, reduces the margin of error massively compared to human beings for sure, and then from RPA and from the RPA world also. Just imagine a onboarding process today that you have to do in a company like Okta, which has 3,000 employees or so. My name was punched into multiple systems. Today, obviously, a lot of this is automated, but at some point, someone was punching in my name, and my spelling is not the simplest one. Names, my letters would be flipped, and then I'll have to go back and then get those corrected. I mean, this is a very trivial example, but the same thing happening to a loan processing or to insurance industry could have bigger consequences. So, point being, I think with automation, with standardized APIs, there would be there is no doubt we'll gain many hours, which translates to many dollars for different industries. But at the same time, the systems will be much more compliant. There'll be a record of what was done when. There's a very good reporting that comes in versus looking at a human doing the task. The reporting is much more structured. That just makes the world more secure, more compliant, and much more efficient. And that's how I see things would progress across industries, spanning things that are also multi verticals, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you, Patrice. I think that was a great example too. Personally, I'm a big fan of automating anything that I've had to manually do twice. Maybe because of my proneness to input errors and typos and things like that. So I'm a big fan of automation, and it does make sense that you still have the human element to rely on.
Yeah, I think we will always learn from a human. There will be a human in the loop. Either we are offline training a model and deploying, or models are online. They're learning from a human behavior and trying to mimic it. I think those are the two trends we'll see moving forward.
Perfect. I can't wait to see what kind of world our continued development and investment in automation will yield, not only for us in tech, but for the rest of the world. As more and more automations appear, I think, right. Yeah, I think the need for scaling all the things will become more and more important as we go, which actually leads to Renee's next question. Renee, managed service providers can uniquely appreciate the need for scalable solutions. How can APIs provide a one-to-many relationship that allows MSPs to scale effectively?
Yes, Chris, I've briefly touched on this in the introduction. Over the last couple of years, we've spoken to thousands of MSPs. Many of them primarily support Windows. Others focus exclusively or almost exclusively on Mac. Traditionally, Mac management has been considered a burden by many MSPs. It's outside the standard workflows. But as the Mac dominance changes in the market and the cyber threats also for macOS increase, this can just no longer be ignored, and MSPs need a scalable solution. So what we've seen is that MSPs use who have multiple customers, and for each customer they would have a separate Jamf Pro account. Now, if we were to one-on-one map Acronis to a Jamf Pro account, then the number of accounts they would have to manage would simply explode. So what we have done is to leverage the multi-tier, multi-tenancy functionality that is already available in Acronis, so that an MSP can configure any number of Jamf Pro accounts with just a single Acronis account. So no matter how much you grow as an MSP, all you'll ever need is one single Acronis account to protect every single one of your devices for every single one of your customers. Each of the customers still appear under their own tenant inside your Acronis account with all of their macOS computers neatly underneath the tenant, so that it's neatly organized and separated. So if you're an MSP looking to better protect your macOS computers or looking to displace, disintegrated backup and security solutions, go over to solutions.acronis.com where you'll find more information about the integration and also a link to a free trial.
Awesome. Thank you, Renee. It sounds like Acronis' structure of supporting multiple Jamf Pro tenants combined with the structure and dependability of the Jamf Pro APIs themselves provides a solution that scales and is also easy to manage for MSPs. Well done.
Yes.
Thanks, Renee.
Thank you.
Awesome. Next, we have another question for Michael. The True software uses real-time data to determine whether or not an action should occur on a device. Why is real-time data so significant, and how does leveraging an API like Jamf's help you respond to it?
Hey, Chris, thanks for the question again. So basically, by using this real-time data, we can create a seamless and more natural experience to the end user. So as we stated previously, we always allow the user access to the correct applications that they need or the correct device features that they need to get their job done at the correct time. So for example, whenever a company driver gets in a vehicle and it starts moving, in real time, we can sense that the motion has happened and modify the settings on the device so that the end user is focused on the road This allows us, we accomplish this by removing applications like email or text messages. And then we also can allow certain applications like maps or certain navigation applications if you have a custom one that your account uses. Once the vehicle stops, we would immediately restore access to all of their applications. They may have some apps that they use on the job site that they don't want access to while the vehicle's in motion, but as soon as they stop, they should have access to be able to go and log an order or see where their next order may be. Another example could be if someone accidentally walks out of a facility. Let's say they have a tablet in their hand that they use on the job site. A geofence can allow us to alert that the user has actually taken the tablet accidentally outside of the workplace. This can be prompted on the device, basically telling the user, hey, please return this back to the security. Let's say that they ignore the prompt and they continue walking. We can eventually use the Jamf APIs to immediately put the device into lost mode and also make an alarm sound or any other additional actions that would allow the user to actually enforce them to turn around and basically take it back to the building. Jamf APIs help us by performing these actions without any user interactions, and they always happen in real time.
Great points, Michael. The ability to analyze and react to real-time data has many possible applications, but it's especially important, I think, when it comes to safety. Thank you so much, Michael, and thank you, True Software. The next question is for Trent. Trent, lifecycle management is an ongoing struggle for IT, as the lifecycle of systems, clients, software, and data itself needs to be tracked and managed. How can a single source of truth help mitigate this struggle, particularly with the use of APIs?
Thanks, Chris. In short, without a single source of truth, technology lifecycle management is challenging, if not impossible. And that's why, by design, through Umnitza's agentless approach, we take advantage of the robust APIs made available through partners such as Jamf, as well as the additional solutions in your environment to leverage the data that you already have. Now, in order to manage and orchestrate the entire lifecycle from receiving a device to deploying it to maintaining it to end of life, in order to manage that entire lifecycle, an ETM such as Umnitza must be utilized so that you're capturing all of the necessary context throughout the device's life and can drive automated processes. Even with a standardized interface like REST and a mostly standardized form of authentication such as API tokens or OAuth 2, the data structure between systems will vary. And therefore, you need a system such as Umnitza, which has a flexible data model that you can easily extend with additional custom fields and make changes as needed. You also need an easy way to map or associate the data coming in from a REST API to your configured data model. And these capabilities are core elements to our ETM solution at Umnitza. Our very first device integration, in fact, still our most popular, was with Jamf. And since then, we've had the pleasure of working with their team and APIs to deliver a number of powerful use cases and automations for our customers. With all of your data in a single solution, you can start to build out security and compliance reports to highlight any activity or discrepancies across your entire technology portfolio. These checks can span across any system and be based on any attribute of a device or user. As an example, we can run a report in Umnitza to identify all of our devices enrolled in Jamf that are also missing an installation of Carbon Black for endpoint protection. Alternatively, if we look at that data coming in from Carbon Black and we see that the virus signatures haven't been updated in a period of time, we can use that event and criteria to actually reach out into Jamf and lock a device. And similarly, looking in Jamf, if we see that a device has been reporting as unencrypted for more than a week, we can use that to reach out to your security endpoint tool and isolate the device from the network. So a single source of truth truly is needed to establish this level of holistic process orchestration and lifecycle management. And taking advantage of APIs, and the Jamf API in particular to do so, is a critical step to solve this challenge.
It's awesome to see how players like Jamf and Carbon Black can work together when orchestrated by a system like Umnitza, which all occurs, I guess, through the use of the APIs. Not to mention the time that admins can save by not having to review data and perform tasks manually between multiple systems. And once again, saving a lot of time. Great stuff. Thank you so much, Trent. And our last question now is for Taylor again. Hey, Taylor, let's round it off. We're going to build a little bit off of our previous question here. What are the security benefits for relying on a limited number of tools and instead leveraging the API to augment data?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it's interesting to hear Trent's last answer too. I think he and I could probably go in depth on this subject, but I think the single biggest reason that we wanted to leverage the Jamf Pro API rather than go down the route of deploying an agent to collect the data that we collect is for security. And any security person can tell you that limiting your attack surface area is one of the best ways that you can mitigate risk to your organization. And so any opportunity that we have to help our customers minimize the number of tools that have to be deployed across their various assets is an opportunity that's worth taking. And I touched on this in my last answer, but I think it bears repeating here that having a tool like Jamf in place that can not only report on the compliance status of your workstation fleet, but also allow you to respond to and remediate compliance issues is a really important tool in the DevOps and SecOps tool belt. And the fact that it can assist you in both of these areas means it's not just a more robust tool, but it's one that is also inherently more secure in that it allows you to do more with less infrastructure. So, that's something we really love about it. And I haven't entirely ruled out the possibility of ever building an agent that may help some of our customers. Some of our smaller customers still want help with these sorts of things that an agent may be able to provide. But even if we were to go down that route, our best guidance and best practice would always still be to use a tool like Jamf to do this sort of work. And as soon as a smaller customer is ready to make that step, we would encourage them to do so purely for the security purpose. So, it's something we really love about the way we've been able to build this solution with Jamf. And, it's been a great experience working with the team.
That's great to hear. And I definitely think that when it comes to the device footprint the solution footprint on the client device, less is more. I'm a big firm believer of that, and I'm glad to hear that Jamf Pro APIs are helping make that possible. So thank you, Taylor, and thank you so much to each of our panelists that have joined us today. We're so grateful to have you. Excited to learn more about you and your experience developing with Jamf and each of your solutions. For our attendees, each solution that was discussed here is available on the Jamf Marketplace. Feel free to check them out on marketplace.jamf.com. Information about each solution is also included in your session handout. If you have any lingering questions from this session, please enter them in the Q&A and we'll be sure to respond to them after the session concludes. We hope you have enjoyed the Marketplace API panel. Please check out the other developer track sessions to learn more about Jamf's APIs and how they can be used to build unique solutions. Thanks again to all of our panelists, and thank you, our attendees, and have a great JNUC.